What do we think of Melbourne traffic, Phil?
So far, it sucks balls.
All right, so now we're out here with Mick. Mick, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah,
Now,
great.
Beautiful Camaro, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it. How long have you had this one?
I've had this one just on 30 years.
Wow.
It is a genuine SS small block car, 350, and that's what come with it when I first bought the car.
Okay.
Within probably 12 months, I built an engine, just a 400 small block. Yeah, and over the course of the next 30 years, it's now a big block car, 496 cube. Interior change. It's predominantly the same, obviously the same colour from when I first bought the car. Just a bit of freshen up here and there with the cowl hood and front fenders and running gear.
Yeah, what kind of condition was it in when you got it?
Virtually as you see it.
Okay.
It was. I couldn't fault it. So right. I mean, the back half of the car is old acrylic paint, so it's probably close to 40 years old in the paint department, except for the front section. So. But yeah, no, the car is a good car. It was a good car. It just come to me, just changing drivetrain and yeah, which is, I love big blocks. So
yeah, I can't go past the cubes, can you?
No, you can't, and there's plenty of room for one. So.
Yeah, wicked. Now, did you have to import this one or did you find it locally?
I flew out to Coolangatta. Yeah, spoke to the guy, that's back in the day when it was Unique Car Magazine.
Yep.
Still have the picture for it, and I think I paid around about 18,000 back then, which was a lot of money.
Back then it definitely was a bargain in today's money only.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought, well, I want something that's going to be collectible. So, flew out there, stayed the night at Tambourine Mountain, and the car was shipped over with TNT and arrived a couple of days after getting back to Melbourne. Then the money pit began.
Yeah. So do you done any of the work yourself on this one?
Yeah, built the engine myself. I mean, I'm not a trimmer by any means or a painter, but assembled the trim. But yeah, the mechanical side of it.
That's your background then,
That's
is
my
it?
background,
Yes.
Yeah, it was originally a power drum car, so pretty hairy. Even with the small block in there. So now it's obviously, 69 Camaro calipers and rotors and yeah, turbo 400. It's originally a 350 power glide car. The power glide didn't last too long behind the big block, so now turbo 400, 9-inch, 3.7s, 4500 converter, and 496 cubes. So
yeah, awesome.
Good on the street.
So a nice solid drivetrain now.
Oh yeah. It's been in. Well, that engine was dynoed 15 years ago.
Oh wow.
Just a flat tappet mechanical engine.
Yep.
No roller stuff yet. I'm not that sold on solid rollers. But yeah, it's been such a reliable car.
Yeah, awesome. So you haven't touched it since then?
I have not touched the rockers for 15 years.
Wow.
And it still sounds pretty sweet. I mean, as long as you don't skimp on valve train, usually, I mean, if you want to check them, it's purely because probably for a bit of peace of mind, but I just like to drive them.
Yep.
So
that's what we build them for, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, let's pop the bonnet and have a look at what you've done under there.
So, as you can see, it's right-hand drive back in the days when there had to be right-hand drive.
Yep.
I think this car was imported into Queensland in '77. So yeah, if you wanted to drive them, they had to be converted. So it's still got all the same conversion. It's just a mirror image of the Camaro stuff, Saginaw steering box and drag link. Everything is all Camaro.
So it was easy enough to just move it all over then?
Well, that was already done for me, thank God. So yeah, and I think a lot of the early Camaros that were a right-hand drive, they've all got virtually a mirror image conversion. So I think there's probably a mob called Chapel conversions back in the day. I don't know if they still exist or even where they were based. Whereas today they're probably using HZ steering boxes or Toyota or what, but
yeah. Now, and like you said before, there's tons of room in here, isn't there? Like it doesn't look like this big block is crowding this engine bay at all.
Not at all. No, not at all. And like you said, there's plenty of room with the pipes.
And that makes it easy, doesn't it? Especially when you want to change your plugs and things like that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But, like the small block was in this car when I brought it. It's a 350. It was just a tired, stocky engine. And then I built a 400 small block, which to this day is in a mate's car, still driving around fine.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, like I said, probably 15 years ago, I built this engine, and yeah, it's got the fast fuel injection, the sequential fuel injection. It's great.
And
So
it still looks the part, these systems, don't they? You
it
know,
does,
like, apart
yeah.
from the fuel rails, you wouldn't know, would you?
You wouldn't know,
Yeah.
no. Take the fuel pressure reg away and you probably wouldn't, you'd have to sort of look twice. But got our cake and eat it too now with EFI.
Yeah,
you know,
beautiful.
so-
Yeah, there's nothing like not having to pump the old carby up in the
Yeah,
morning, is there?
I know. Sometimes you still have to help it. It's a big engine. They don't run like a Commodore, you know, but I suppose I haven't persevered with the EFI on this because I just like to drive. You know, you create a base fuel map and a base ignition map and then just drive it and let it learn and then turn the learning off and just be satisfied with what it is. So there's probably a lot of, meat on the table that I've left, but like I said, it's just nice to drive.
Yeah. You'll get the bug again one day.
Oh,
Tinker a bit more.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I've got another tune on the laptop waiting to download, but it's just a case of bringing the laptop out and download it and see what that tune's like. And if I don't like it, I can go back to the original one. But yeah.
And what have you got running? At what computer have you got running the system?
It's a mob called FAST.
Okay.
So fuel, air, spark technology.
Rightio.
So
Haven't heard of that one before.
No, that's what I mean. There's not really anybody here you can sort of talk to. You sort of got to rely on people in the US.
Yeah.
I've even sent my tune to a guy in the US and he looked over it, sent it back to me and said, yeah, everything looks good. But again, I've since played with that. But everything's Holly Sniper now. So, you know, it's trying to find guys that are familiar with FAST.
Well, at least the guys in America are willing to give you the support and give you feedback and have a look.
Oh, for sure.
And that sort of thing.
There's plenty of support out there, and you don't even have to talk to anybody really. You could just email them and then do remote tuning and I mean, look, I still love a carby car, plain and simple. But the EFI is challenging at times, but
A little bit more drivability though, isn't it?
a lot more
You get out of the
drivability.
EFI.
Cold starts, throttle response is amazing.
All right, well, let's mosey on around and have a look at the interior.
Yeah, cool.
Wow, it's quite roomy in here. It's a little surprising how much room you've got.
For the passenger. I mean, these seats have. I've got 2-inch seat extenders.
Okay.
I didn't really need it, but I just thought there might be a time when I want to move the seat back. So it's got the seat extenders, so they can go back just that little bit further, because not really anyone sits in the back anyway. So
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I love the original steering wheel.
not much has changed. I mean, apart from some gauges, shifter. Majority of the car. I mean, I've got the TikTok dash, clock with the tacho, and the TMI seats have been the biggest improvement in the way it drives. It's just initially I got the TMI covers and the foam sent to me, and not realising that TMI had an error in some of the foam, and it was super hard, and my head was up here.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I had to sort of slide down the seat to sort of drive, and then I contacted TMI. They said, we had a recall. Send me out some fresh foam, but I kept the hard foam in the back, so you got the bolster.
Yeah, nice and fat.
And then just a soft foam in the bum. So
So that upgrade, you use the original frames, and
it's the original frames.
the foam and
it's the foam and the covers. The back doesn't really change. The frame, the foams are still the same. It's just the covers.
Well, that's really good, because you're not taking the original seats out, and you're not putting an aftermarket seat in. So
it's all the original frames, and the door trims were part of the TMI package as well. And like I said, this car used to have grey velour throughout, except for the black crash pad and the black console, but grey seats, carpet, roof lining, and it was very 80s, and I thought that's the next thing that's going to be done. And the interior and probably the Centrelines was sort of done in one package, probably 6-7 years ago now, and I love the seats. A lot of comments about the seats.
Well, they're very comfortable and they look great too.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Camaro seats aren't the best to sit in after a couple of hours. They're much probably like early Mustangs, So
do they send replacement springs and things like that as well for the?
No, I mean, you can buy new spring bases anyway, and I think on one seat, I think it's that seat you're sitting in now, I got a new spring base.
Okay.
Apart from that, I've still got my original spring base, and back it's purely just the foam and the covers.
It's very nice in here. But,
no worries, thank you.
Yeah, let's jump out and have a look around the back.
Cool, no worries.
All right, so the classic Camaro arse end.
Yeah, they've got the big Coke bottle hips. They're pretty sort of a sexy looking rear end on the car.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how fat they get, they still look good.
Yeah.
So,
No, don't they?
Yeah.
And also they're accommodating some nice big boots that you've got on this thing.
yeah, got the 15 8.5 Centerlines, auto drags, 275/60 Mickey S street strip tyres. And yeah, obviously with that sort of dish, because they're a 3.5 inch or 3 5/16 backspace. So you've got to shorten the rear end, which is a 9 inch. It did have a 12 bolt, that being a factory SS car back in the day. But when the 9 inch went in, there wasn't much in the way of aftermarket stuff for saddles, for diff, like diff perches and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you cut the saddles off a 12 bolt, which is a pretty sacrilege thing to do now. But yeah, it's a Ford 9 inch, shortened that extra inch and 5/16, whatever it is, just to get that deeper offset wheel.
And the 9 inch really is the only option, isn't it, when you start talking big blocks and lots of power? And that
I mean, I'd like to make it an all GM car, and I do have a 12 bolt tucked away. But yeah, at the moment, I'll just leave well enough alone. It's working well. And
you haven't had to tub it or anything like that to get those big boots under
all
there?
factory tub. I mean, the lips are rolled. There's probably one thing I regret owning this car, and that was touching the lips. But at the time, say close to 30 years ago, you didn't think much about it. You thought, no, they've got to fit under there, so I'm going to roll the lips. I've had 3 people in the back of this car, doing the odd wedding or two, and
It doesn't scrape?
no. But then again, you could probably hit a ripple strip, and you might hear something, and you think, oh, what was that? But most of the time, yeah, you can have people in the back of this, and drive it, and no worries.
Yeah, nice.
Been good. I mean, like I said, my kids are older now, so it's not like I have to worry about carting anyone in the back. Usually it's just me and the missus, or just me.
Yep.
So
nice.
just go cruising.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Now you've also got a nice XB over there.
Yeah, XB GD. I've had that probably about 18 months now.
Well, let's roll over and we'll go and check that one out.
Cool. No worries.
All right, mate. So we've got a bit of Aussie muscle here now.
Yeah. Sort of different camp compared to the Chevs that I'm always usually playing with. But yeah, no, a friend of mine put me onto this one, and he was originally going to purchase it, and the guy was sort of messing him around, so it sort of lay dormant for a while, and then I got a phone call saying he's decided to sell it. Do you want to go and look at it? And I thought, well, I don't really want it. Anyway, long story short, but I ended up buying the car, and yeah, it's matching numbers, XB, obviously GD 351, and
beautiful. One
of 6 with that interior, which is what they call a B2, is half velour, half cloth, half vinyl.
Okay.
So that was one of 6 back in '74. So your guess is as good as mine as to how many are still out there now.
Could be 6, could be 1.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least I know there's one of them. So
yeah, that's it. So what condition was this in? How far had he gotten with it?
It was painted.
Okay.
Thankfully, it was painted. The trim around the glass was on, even though it's still got to be finished off.
Yeah.
And he had the seats done for me. He bought a lot of new old stock. The guy wasn't a fan of reproduction stuff. So he just was not a fan of it, even though he had no choice. And thankfully, like tail lights, radiator, steering wheel, it's all new old stock.
So he's pretty much left you with an assembly job.
Yeah, and it's a learning curve for me, because you can't just go to the bolt bar and buy a bag of bolts. You've got to be period correct, and they've got to have certain markings and certain colours. So I'm enjoying it, because it's a different type of car.
Yeah, so back to the factory GT
Back to
spec.
factory. I've got my own touches, like I've got a set of headers on the car, and there's a Holly, that's will be under the air cleaner. Everything else is probably a little bit lower than a factory car. Decided to put the globes on instead of the 12 slots, but the 12 slots are tucked away.
I do like the globes.
Yeah, I like the globes.
They really they give it that period correct sort of look, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, look, it's a nice. Well, hopefully it'll turn out to be a nice car. So.
Yeah. And what colour is it? Do you know the name?
It's
of the colour?
mulberry.
Mulberry.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really deep, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, that sort of magenta, sort of a look. I went to the GT Nationals in Bathurst last year, hoping, mainly for a lot of reference photos, and I was gobsmacked there was not one Mulberry GT there.
Yeah, wow.
Coupe, sedan or whatever, but not one Mulberry. I'm booked in for next year's GT Nationals at Shepparton. The place will probably be flooded with Mulberry GTs, who knows, but the guy said to me, he said, look, you've got enough parts here to build this car and probably half of another one. Right, yeah. There wasn't even enough to build this car.
Right, okay.
So, hence the reason why, spent a lot of money on new fresh seat belts. Door trims are coming, they're on their way.
All right, let's pop the bonnet and see how far you've gotten under there.
No worries. So yeah, just trying to replicate what the factory did back in the day. This vehicle does have an aircon radiator. It come with the car, so and it's actually a Natra product. It's still got the sticker on the side of the tank. But other than that, it's a freshly built 351. Don't know much about the internals. It's probably got a small camshaft, if anything.
Yep.
But yeah, that engine was built. It come with the car. Same with the FMX, and it was just purely just a case of putting things back together.
And I can see you've got the factory markings on there, the OK on the rock.
Yeah.
Now we've seen a few guys that are building back to original.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So we're getting pretty good at spotting these things
Yeah,
now. So,
yeah. It's a learning curve for me. I mean, I've just had my horns remanufactured or redone again. There's some stickers on the way, to replicate low and high horn, and yeah, there's just there's so much out there, that for guys doing these sort of restos.
Well, there is now. There's a lot more than there used to be, which is really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've got a couple of good companies here in Australia now that are doing reproduction parts that you can get bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And you can get information even, which is gold too.
In the car, come with a book just with it shows you the markings like on differential, tail shaft, control arms, all the different colours that the little daub of paint that the guy working on the assembly line would have done back in the day.
And it even comes down to chalk marks underneath sometimes too, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Just where, like you say, they OK it in the factory, stick a mark on it. Yep, this has been tested and done.
Exactly. I just ordered some more stuff, just some stamps, like you'd find a stamp at a post office. It's got OK written on it. I only use it once.
Yeah.
But, and then actually, because like I mentioned, this is a B2 car, so it's cloth and vinyl interior, so they would have B2 written on the rad support, which just in a yellow texture pen. I got to replicate that, just see what they're supposed to look like. But yeah, majority of the time it's just purely trying to copy what the factory did.
Yeah.
But just with my own little touches, like the carb and the headers, because that's just what I want. Yeah. That's what I like.
So would this have had air conditioning from the factory? This one, or
this
just
is a non-aircon car. But obviously, maybe guys switched to the aircon radiator if they were towing, maybe back in the day.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because this vehicle, like I said, it come with that aircon radiator. I had to source the brackets for it. So it's been a real learning curve for me, and it's just the reference material is a hard part, just trying to find out, because everyone's got a different idea as to what bolts went where. And I used to work at GM back in the 70s, and I know what production was like. They'd run out of a certain material, an engineer would say, well, use that in now, use that particular bolt or whatever. And so there'll be cars going out with some bolts that differ from others. Hard to know if you could really say, well, this is a genuine car that's untouched, but then you'll have another one that this, people have got conflicting ideas as to what bolts went where. And the X-File guys are going to pick the crap out of this sort of stuff, But I know there'll be things that probably aren't correct, but I'm yet to find out.
But these days, you've just got to get as close as you can, because you're never going to get it exactly how it came out of the factory. I mean, I'm sure factory paint never looked like this.
Probably not as nice as this,
because the paint job on this thing is pretty good.
It is. It's a nice, it's really nice. And like I said, if this wasn't painted, I wouldn't have taken it on. We all know what it's like to have a car in paint jail. I wouldn't have done it.
Paint jail, I like that.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have done it. And the fact that it was painted and the engine was done, the box was done, 9-inch was done, I thought, well, okay, I'll put it together. I'm enjoying it.
A keeper, this one?
No, this is not a keeper. This is, I'd like to probably get rid of this when I'm finished and probably spend some money on maybe a new engine for the Camaro, or I don't know. You know what these things are like.
Well, I don't think you'll have any problem moving this on.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in no rush. I'm going to enjoy the car for the time being. Once it's all finished, hopefully in the next couple of months, it will be a turnkey driver, and then just sort out some little bugs and whatever that's going to be with the car. Obviously, being a new build.
Yep. And
just enjoy it for a little while.
Yep.
So.
No, awesome, mate. Awesome. All right, there's no interior in there, so we can't go and look at that.
There's not much in there. No.
I think we're good with this one now.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, thanks so much for talking to us.
No problem.
Aussie Garage today. Yeah.
Thanks.
Now, and as people will probably notice in the background, there's a few more cars here we could talk about, but we've got to get on a plane in a couple of hours. So we'll be back, mate, I think.
No worries.
And next time we're in Melbourne, we'd love to catch up with you again and have a chat about some of the other toys that you've got here.
I'd love it. I really would. I'd love it. I've enjoyed myself.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Awesome.
All good.